Are you smart enough to spot these 6 signs of a stupid woman? Have you ever caught yourself being stupid or want to know what really makes someone smart? It doesn't matter how smart or dumb you are, whether you've gone to school or not, how many books you've read. It is about how you live, what you think, and how you care for others, and based on the old. For Stoics, being stupid isn't just a lack of intelligence, it's not a good place to live in line with good sense and reason. Today, we're going to talk about something that might 6 things that should make you stop and think of stern advice, calls her a stupid woman. Now don't get the wrong idea. Let me explain. Make it clear what this isn't about. Putting labels on criticizing Stoicism isn't about making a point. Fingers. It's a way of thinking that promotes growth through self-reflection and specifics. Let's look at responsibility when we look at these 6. There are other signs besides someone else who could fit these. I'd rather ask you to join than describe. You can use this as a mirror to look at yourself, on what you do and what you think and your own life. After all the great thinkers, I think that getting wise is a process, not a destination. Goal, and here's the thing, no one is great, not you, not for me. Making things good enough isn't the goal. It's making progress now. Why? Well, Stoicism is one of the most useful and timeless ideas you'll ever meeting. It's not about vague ideas, it's about goals that can't be reached. Setting your mind straight and concentrating on what you have power and can live a stable life. In Marcus Aurelius and other virtue thinkers, what Seneca and Epicus did for a living, showing people how to get through the mess of the world with peace, clarity, and power. And what's interesting is that their lessons are still useful today, as they were a very long time ago. What does Stoicism say about these traits? Of how can we find and stop foolishness? Get rid of the habits and ways of thinking that's stopping us from living a full life, important life. And more importantly, how can we remember these old lessons and use them to our lives today if you're interested? Keep watching because I'm going to list the 6 signs of a dumb woman who isn't from, rather than from a place of judgment and growth. Don't worry, I'm not here to single anyone. I want to push you instead to think, ask, and maybe even laugh a little along the way. So let's begin with the first sign, and believe me, this is something you need to hear. Sign 1: putting looks over functionality. Person. I want you to picture this, in which you meet someone who always looks like they have it all together on the outside, with perfect makeup and stylish clothes. At first glance, the Instagram feed looks perfect. They may look sure of themselves and effective. It might even be inspiring. But here's the catch. If you take a closer look, you take note that there isn't much depth below on the surface. All of their energy is gone, based on how they look instead of who they are. The Stoics said that this passion with how they look is a clear sign of being stupid, because they thought that your values are what give you value, your character and your soul. Marcus Aurelius was one of the Stoics, were the best people to say what the soul gets colored with the color of it's your thoughts, or who you are. What makes you unique on the inside? What people see of you now don't. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing being careful about taking pride in your looks and how you can show self-respect by how you act, and self-assurance. But when you set looks like the most important thing, you're ignoring the things that just think about it. Beauty fades. The way you look now won't last forever, never change, but the person you are, your kindness, your knowledge, and your strength, those things, those who can handle those things, become calm. Would say that putting too much emphasis on it's not just shallow to look good, it also takes your attention away from things that are more important, like developing your mind. Developing important ties and living a good life when you put all your value in something as short-term as how you look. Get ready for worry, because what will happen when the The beauty you've come to trust starts to fade. What takes place when someone who looks better, you're left. Not having anything because you tied your value to something that wasn't meant to have any in the first place to describe you place. So how do you get away from this set of thoughts that the Stoics would say to, instead, pay attention to your inner beauty? To think about what set of ideals do you live by? You being kind to other people and respect. Are you getting better version of you? Because at the end of the day, no amount of makeup, expensive clothes, social media posts that are perfectly chosen will not be important if you have not worked on who you are at your heart. And I'm going to leave you this the next time you catch yourself seeing how you compare to someone else's looks or worrying a lot about how other people see you. Take a moment to think about what kind of who am I being. That's what the Stoics want to know. Would like you to answer, because character is much more important than anything else. Then you're showing up sign 2, ignoring sign 2, not taking responsibility for yourself, taking care of yourself. This one could be a little too close to. Some of us felt like it hit home because, let's face it, taking credit for what we did doesn't always. It may seem easy, but the Stoics say it's very important. If you want to live what a smart and important life, have you ever? I met someone who seems to have a reason for everything that's wrong with them life, and that reason isn't them. They say their parents and their job are to blame, relationship, or even just bad luck, their fault right now, even though it's true that life can give us some pretty unfair. In these situations, the Stoics think that putting too much weight on outside forces is an indication of silly. Why? Because it takes away yours. Power Epicus was a famous Stoic thinker. Taught us this important lesson: we can't pick out our outside things happen, but we can always choose how we deal with them. Think about that. The Stoics think for a moment that even though you can't change everything, no matter what happens, you're always in charge over your thoughts, deeds, and your choices that put the blame on others or on. Not only does your situation make you look, it actually keeps you from growing up. When you refuse to taking care of your own business, the power to change, grow, and get better. Let's break it down. Say you're having trouble in your work life. Yes, it's possible that your boss is tough. Either the economy is bad or the job market is tough. In your favor, but what can you do? How hard are you trying to get control? Get better at what skills do you bring to work every day? With a good mood and hard work morals, or are you just wasting your time? Getting angry and waiting for someone else? Socrates would fix it for you. Remind you that making progress begins with specifics, responsibility. As soon as you take charge of your life, even you get back your power. And this is what blaming other people might. It might feel good at the time. It's not like you're not responsible. We're right in you're angry, but in the long run, it's a trap that stops you from becoming you're meant to be single with someone else. Stoic scholar once said that it is not because things are hard for us to do, not dare. It's because we're not brave that they are hard to understand. You can do much more than you think. Think, but only if you're ready to taking responsibility for your. So how can you use this calm idea in real life? Rule in your own life. Begin by putting yourself through some questions like, am I blaming other people for what can I do differently to fix my problems? Is it something I'm ready to own? Of what I do, even when things get tough, the Stoics think that being responsible isn't just about improving things. What's wrong? It's about giving people power. You want to make the future better, so the next time you want to do not point the finger or make excuses. Instead, stop and tell them, yourself, this is what I do with my life is up to me. Taken care of may not always be easy, but it's a very important step you can do to become wise. And 3, overvaluing other people. Sign 3, putting too much stock in other people's opinions. Let's talk about the third sign now. Component placement, according to Stoic knowledge, of being stupid, overvaluing other people's thoughts. This one. These days, it hits hard, doesn't it? It's so simple to do now that social media, too much care can be dangerous. About what other people think. How many likes did your post get? Who is looking at your, what will people say about the stories? You've made decisions about these questions. Creep into our minds without we didn't even know it. But here's the truth. Living to please other people is one of the fastest ways to lose weight. It was clear to the Stoics that this was wrong. Marcus Aurelius, who was emperor of Rome and the stern giant, said it best. It never ends. I can't believe we all love ourselves more than other people, but more about what they think than what we think about that. You love yourself more for a second than anyone else. Yes, you're with yourself all the time, all the best and every failure. But in some way the views of people who don't live your life, who you might not even know you carry. So thank you, wait. Why is that? The saint believed that always looking for approval from other people is a sign, because it makes you feel stupid and pulls you away when you live for what other people think. You give them decision-making power over your happiness, and you're to ask yourself about your self-worth. What do I want? What fits with my ideas? You start to wonder what they will think about, what will look good on me, and that way of thinking is wrong, because that no one can be happy with everything. No matter what you do, someone will always say bad things. The Stoics taught that you can become wise through when you live in line with your own values, not what other people expect of you. They told us to pay attention to what you can't control. Decide what other people think of. You can only change the way you think. Take it from yourself, Epictetus. Whether you want to look for outside approval, you should know that you have harmed your reputation. If you need a witness, be your own now. What does that mean? You should not care what other people think. The Stoics would say not at all, not at all. To keep an open mind when you hear feedback, but don't let it define you. There's a big gap between productive and there is good feedback and bad feedback. The kind of approval that keeps you stuck. Here's something useful to remember the next when you're thinking about what other people. Stop, think, and ask yourself. These asks them why their thoughts matter. Is the way I live in line with your own morals? If no one was looking, would I still make the same decision by moving your attention from approval from outside to inside? Being honest, you free yourself from the tiring loop of making other people happy. Remember that being wise isn't about being liked by everyone, it's about having faith in. The Stoics would remind you of who you are, your worth, what you say you're worth. Something you set for. Sign yourself up for 4. Mental instability. Sign 4. Unstable emotions and reacting too much and too harsh. Let's move on to the 4th sign of being stupid, and this one is a big problem. Mental instability and more than one reply. Picture this. Having a chat with someone and all of a something small turns into during a full-blown fight. Voices are louder. People get angry, and before you know it, things go completely off track. Of someone or seen someone let go a small problem, like getting stuck in traffic, ruin their whole day. Sound known? According to Stoic thinking, letting your feelings run your life is a sign of being stupid. The Stoics thought that feelings are normal, but responding too much to them or letting them tell you what to do is a not living to live. One of the great Stoics who was logically sound. Some thinkers said that a man is as sad as he has told himself that he is in other. That is, a lot of our pain doesn't come not from the event itself, but from how, let's deal with it now, don't get mad. Believe it or not, Stoicism isn't about keeping your feelings in or lying. They don't exist, and the Stoics knew that a feeling is a normal part of being. People, but they also think that wisdom based on how you handle those feelings instead of acting on them right away. They taught us to stop and think. Pick an answer that fits with sense and virtue. Why does being emotionally unstable so much? Because it makes when you give in to anger, fear, or if you get angry, you're more likely to decide what to do. Sometimes you may say things you wish you hadn't. I mean, hurt the people you care about, or make things worse, emotionally worse than it needs to be. And mistake can set off a chain of events being bad for your relationships and your reputation. Epictetus said it so well when he said it's not about what, it's how you do something about it. That this is one of the main things that how to teach. Being tough. You can't change anything that will happen, but you can handle it. Yours answer. And when you get good at answer, you run your own life. So how can you work on your emotional? Here are a few Stoic-inspired ways to stay stable. One strategy is to think before you act. When you feel your feelings rising, take a deep breath and take a moment to think about what you just read. Before. Answer 2. Reframe the situation and ask. Ask yourself if this is really worth getting. Most of the time, the truth makes them angry. Don't worry about what you can. If you can't change the situation, hands don't waste time on. Instead, make you think about what you can change, the way you think and act, and your point of view. Let's be honest. We all lose our cool from time to time. Human, but you need to catch yourself. Think about it and try to do better next time. Remember that being calm is a strength when you keep your feet on the ground. In times of trouble, you not only keep your peace, but you also encourage other people to the same. So the next time you want to, too quickly, think of ask yourself, am I letting my feelings run my life, or am I in charge of because being wise isn't about feelings. I've never felt like it was about picking how to do something, even if you're feeling bad. High sign 5 wants to be nice, and sign 5 wanting things and being greedy. Now let's talk about the 5th sign of being stupid, greedy, and materialistic. Now picture this person who is crazy about it, with getting more money, more often. Things are more status symbols for them, not the quality, but how well they did of who they are, or how happy they are in, but by the number of zeros in how much money they have, or the designer records in their room. People who knew the Stoics had a lot to say about this. And let me tell you, it's not Stoics thought it was nice that fixating on material health is a sure way to get sick. Sign of being stupid. The reason is that things are temporary outside and eventually beyond our status. The great hero once said that wealth does not mean having a lot of stuff, but in having few. To put it another way, the more you chase, the more things you have, the more you'll find being a slave to them. You'll always be needing more and never being happy, seeing what else I can do to fill that being empty. Inside, think about how many people, who do you see who seems to have it all on? On the surface, money, cars, and a big house, but are really unhappy, and that's because getting caught up in wealth is a bad idea. From what's really important, your relationships, your goal, and your inner. St. Thomas taught that real wealth comes from peace. Isn't about what you own, but being happy with what you have now. But here's what greed isn't just about want to make money, or it's also about wanting things. Outside proof that you might not be obsessed with having nice things, but you find yourself trying to get fame or attention. What do you think? If I get that job, if I only get that degree, if I only buy that one thing, I'll finally feel. If you want to know what the Stoics would say, the way you think is a dead end. Happiness comes from inside, not from outside. Anything outside. So how do you get away from? They were against materialism and greed, a technique known as voluntary discomfort. They would choose to do without perks, and sometimes even food that's warm, protection to help them remember that they wouldn't have lived without those things, or thrive. It was a way to get better at be thankful and think about what really important things while you don't have to go to. You can take those extremes in a similar way. Frame of mind, start by ask yourself, what am I thankful for? Do I really need this thing? Or am I trying to fill a hole in my heart? Am I living by my ideals, or am I after things that won't bring long-term success? Socrates thinks that happiness comes from being simple is freedom, when you don't tie your happiness to things that make you free yourself from the never-ending circle of needing to chase and never feeling happy. And the best part is, you start keeping your mind on what's important. Your ties and your avoiding self-reflection is the sixth lasting sign. Sign 6. Not wanting to think about yourself or grow. And growth. Now let's talk about the sixth and most likely the most important sign of being stupid to avoid self-reflection. And let's be honest, this one is about growth. I know no one likes to face their fears, their own. It's so much easier to blame flaws others to keep us busy with, to have fun, or act like everything that's fine. But the Stoics thought that one way to avoid self-reflection is to biggest problems with being wise. Marcus Aurelius, the wise king, he would do a strong workout every night. Think about what he did and how he felt. Choices made by the everyday, he'd think, what did I do? What else could I have done better? Did I not meet my values? This daily habit of self-evaluation wasn't about beating yourself up. He got himself up. It was about, the Stoics think, that understanding leads to growth. Comes from always evaluating yourself, learning from when you make mistakes and try to be better, you stay away from self-reflection. You turn into being stuck. You keep doing the same thing. Make mistakes by following the same trends and not sure why nothing ever. It's like being stuck in rapids. You may be going, but you're not going anywhere, and over time, a lack of growth makes people angry. Anger and sorrow, the Stoics would say that thinking about yourself is the basis of a good person. Life is how you line up your deeds. It's how you know what your values are. When you're not on the right path and right on track, and that's how you becoming your best self, not for others, but for. So, how can you start working out? Do some self-reflection. Here are some ideas. Taking ideas from Stoic wisdom. 1. I write in my notebook every day for a few minutes. Day to write down your feelings, how you feel and what you do. Tell yourself what went well. What could I do today? Improve. 2. Aware. Taking breaks throughout the day. 2. Take a moment to think about what you're doing, in line with your values. 3. Look for feedback. We can't always see our blind spots. Ask friends you can trust, or open up to your teachers and ask for honest comments. To hearing it without being protective, remember to think about yourself. Is not about being perfect, it's about progress. The Stoics knew that you will grow all your life, so don't be not willing to look inside, even if it's awkward. That's where the truth lies. Changing things starts. The way to wisdom is the conclusion. In the end, the way to now. You know the 6 things he said. A list of signs that a woman is stupid. Stern advice. Putting looks first. Focusing on character instead of self. Taking too much duty for others. Thoughts and feelings unstable. Getting away from selfishness, greed, and thoughts on oneself and growth. But here's what's important. This is what the signs don't mean. Labeling or judging other people is what they're about. Seeing the places where we all have space. To the Stoics, thought that being wise was a trip, not a goal, and the good news is that we can all grow it. It starts with being self-aware, means recognizing where we have failed without beating ourselves up. It takes guts to stand up to them. Let go of old habits that don't work anymore is good for us, and live a good life. This is why. And this is what I want to leave you with. This, which of these 6 signs do you know which speaks to you the most? Is there a part of your life where Stoic knowledge could be used to make a good news? Remember, every step you take to change, taking steps to grow, is a good thing. And if this movie, think about this and don't forget to share it with someone and like it, who might need to be a little tough. Give them ideas for their lives. Let's add a comment below to keep the discussion going. Which of these lessons do you like best? You're going to pay attention to if you watch today. Thanks again, and keep trying to get smarter and peace of mind. You can do this.